Hello and welcome to the USA Volleyball Show, the official podcast of USA Volleyball. My name is Stephen Munson, joined today by Severin Lavenstein. Severin, how are you doing? How was your holiday break?
I'm doing great, Stephen. It was a nice, relaxing break, filled with a lot of sports that weren't volleyball. So glad to be back to volleyball focused only, but yeah, very, very enjoyable. How about you?
It was good. Yeah, you mentioned the sports there. I saw your social media posts of I forgot what the platform's called, but all your favorite sports moments
Memento. Yeah.
Memento. Yeah.
I'll do free plugs for them all day long, but just my quick one here is it's how there's no physical ticket stubs anymore, or at least you have to go through a process to get them. Memento kind of tracks all the games that you go to, and I'm just a sports nerd where I love to put that in, and you can see the attendance and put in your photo. And I'm going to date myself here, but I used to have physical photo albums that I would put ticket stubs in,
Nice.
Back in the early 2000s when they still had those. But yeah, the cool little alternative way to do that. So I went to what ended up being one of the last games of Gerard Mayo's tenure for the Patriots, which wow. First game I've been to since 2018, and that is a different house without Tom Brady there. And then I went to the Rose Bowl, which was one of the coolest. Cool. It was one of the coolest experiences I've ever been to. So not to bore our listeners who are here for volleyball, but it was just an awesome experience. And my last hot take for you is I think every stadium in the world should be built like the Rose Bowl. It's the coolest.
I've yet to be there, but just seeing on TV, it looks like a marvel. So I can only imagine being there in person. How cool that was.
Yeah. But what were you up to?
Man, just a lot of relaxing. I was at the AVCA convention and NCAA championship till the 20. I think I got back on the 23rd, so I was there a little over a week and had a great time there. It was my third time at the convention and the championship. Shout out to the AVCA for putting on that convention. It's always so fun. It's just a reunion for the volleyball world and all the coaches that are gathered there, athletes walking around. It's just, you're running into former teammates, former colleagues, or it's just so fun and get to meet new people too in the volleyball world is always great. But we recorded several podcast episodes as well while we're on the ground there. Definitely go back and check those out. We've got a few more in the bank too that we'll be releasing here in the early part of the year. But moving on to the NCAA championship, so cool. Such a fun environment there in Louisville, especially with Louisville being there. And of course, the Husker fans always show up. But yeah, so just of course, the one that sticks out to me is Penn State's reverse sweep. That was just incredible to witness. And yeah, just a fun and easy team to cheer for. I think they're young too, so their athletes are going to be around for a little bit longer here in the collegiate ranks. So excited to see where that program goes and how it grows. And of course, having Haley Washington around there too was fun. Especially with Penn State winning.
Yeah, no, with both those teams, I know we've had several athletes come through the gym here at the National Team Training Center, for our NTVP teams. And I was definitely having FOMO watching on TV, knowing you guys were there. And it was cool getting to kind of know the behind the scenes of all you were doing for the content and setting everything up. So shout out to everybody involved there with, whether it was the meet and greets or the podcast interviews that you guys got to do. It was so great to see that happening. And then obviously, with the culmination of such a great tournament, I was very jealous. And it was such a cool product too, to watch even just on TV and knowing, hey, we're over there and you guys were killing it.
Yeah, it was cold there in Louisville, but it was a lot of fun. Not as cold as Omaha was in our first year going there, but so fun and hopefully we'll get an opportunity to go to more down the road. But we've got an awesome episode today, so let's just dive right into it. And before we do, if you haven't listened to episode 111, it's still crazy that we're over 100 episodes. Be sure to go download it right now as you're listening to this and go back and check it out. Two-time Olympic medalist Haley Washington joined us at the AVCA convention to talk about Paris, her life since, and the upcoming League One volleyball season. Don't miss that episode. Listen or watch now on all podcast platforms, YouTube, and usavolleyball.org. Now it's time for On the Scene with Labenstein.
Just seamless. Listener, welcome to 2025, and we have so much exciting stuff going on. First up, it's a huge week for women's volleyball with two of the professional U.S. leagues starting their 2025 seasons. League One, the inaugural season, starting Wednesday, January 8th. First serve between League One Salt Lake and League One Atlanta. That's LOVB Salt Lake and LOVB Atlanta at the Gateway Center Arena in Atlanta. That match is going to be on ESPN Plus, 7:30 p.m. Eastern. I'm excited because I can just flip through the Roku and find that on those tiles now. So easy. We've got, we've been waiting for a long time for League One to start, and it's finally here. So excited about that. Other love League One, LOVB, however you're saying it. Other matches, the first serve series this week is going to include Austin at Houston on January 9th. That's Madison at Austin on January 10th and Omaha at Houston on January 10th as well. Those matches are also going to be on ESPN Plus. If you need kind of a refresher on how all that is going to go and you want to look at the schedules, you can head over to lovb.com for the full schedule for this year. Then on Thursday, January 9th, the Pro Volleyball Federation kicks off its second season. The first year of the PVF was just a massive success. Getting to watch those matches was incredible. And we expect this year to be just pretty much exactly the same and another continuation of that. And the first match of the season is going to be the San Diego Mojo against the Orlando Valkyries at 7 p.m. Eastern on FS2. My side note is I think the Valkyries is like one of the coolest names that you could possibly say. I mean, 100%. Just saying it, the whole logo is sick, but so that might be my favorite team. But I'm getting sidetracked. On Friday, the Atlanta Vibe play the Omaha Supernovas, and the Grand Rapids Rise face the Vegas Thrill. Both of those matches are going to be on YouTube. So again, the first one I mentioned, FS2, this one on YouTube. And then on Saturday, the final two teams in the league are in action are San Diego versus Columbus. That's and then Orlando against Indy Ignite. That's also on YouTube. And Sunday has Omaha facing Grand Rapids and Atlanta facing Vegas. So again, a bunch of teams all together all at once. And once more, if you need that full schedule again, you need to kind of get more organized, go to provolleyball.com for the full schedule.
Now, in today's episode, of course, you heard the big news. Texas women's associate head coach Erik Sullivan is the new women's national team head coach. In his very first interview as head coach, Erik answers a lot of our burning questions about the new role. So let's dive right into it. Here's Erik Sullivan. We are so excited to introduce the next head coach of the U.S. women's national team, two-time Olympian, two-time national champion with UCLA as a player. Most recently, associate head coach at the University of Texas, winning 3 national titles in his 14 years with the Longhorns. Really, the resume is too long to include everything. Congratulations, Erik, and welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, we're really excited to have you on and have this conversation with you. For me personally, worked with you at the last 2 Olympics in Tokyo and in Paris. So really excited for you to get this opportunity and looking forward to continuing to work closely with you as well.
Yeah, me too.
I guess let's just jump right into it. What was it like getting the offer as the women's national team head coach?
Yeah, a little bit surreal. I mean, I've been around the USA program for a long time, and I don't know, I have this point of reflection in the process. I think the first thing I was involved in was what we call now the NTDP, high performance stuff, I think when I was 17. And really looking over my career, I don't really think I was very far away from USA Volleyball at any point. Whether it was playing, coaching, I served on boards, the opportunity to represent the men's team in the last 3 Olympics. So unfortunately fortunately, it's been 30 years plus of my involvement. And so to have this be an opportunity that I had, was possible was a little bit surreal. Obviously it's, a highly sought after coaching position. It's kind of the epitome of coaching, especially for our sport, being an Olympic sport. So just honored, truly humbled by the opportunity, and super excited to get going.
Erik, after more than a decade with Texas, why was now the right time for you to make this transition and move into this new role?
Yeah, that's a great question. I've been offered a lot of jobs, and a lot of people give me that question a lot of, hey, why aren't you a head coach yet? And to be honest, when I got into coaching, one of the things that I was very aware of is that I wanted my family to have some roots somewhere. So when I took this job at Texas, it was with that in mind. It wasn't the thought of, hey, we're going to go there and this is going to be my next stepping stone to another job and keep moving around the country. I wanted my kids to grow up somewhere. And so, I think they would tell you that they're from Texas and they had the opportunity to do that. And so when this job presented itself, it kind of checked every box in that it was something that was really intriguing to me. It was something that I thought would be a really cool experience and wanted to do it professionally. But at the same time, my family was kind of in a spot where, my youngest is now a senior in high school. And so everything about it just kind of clicked the right boxes and made the most sense. And so, I don't know, that's how we got to where we're at.
And Austin, Texas, a great place to set up your roots too. I'm from Dallas originally. I went to college in San Marcos at Texas State University. So just down the road, down the highway from Austin there, but spent a lot of time there. Actually went to a lot of UT games while I was in college too. So
that was part of it when we were making the decision. My wife and I are both from Southern California, so we knew that, or we had a good feeling that Austin was going to suit us. I've been very fortunate in my coaching career to have the ability to make some decisions based on some of that. And so, super, super fortunate and super glad it all worked out this way.
As far as Texas cities, that's probably the closest that Texas gets with being similar to SoCal. So
yeah, for sure.
Great choice there. Yeah.
Sure.
While during your time at Texas, the program had 8 NCAA Final Four appearances, 3 national championship titles, and Texas is known as a powerhouse in the collegiate volleyball space. What do you credit that success to?
I think Jarrett has done a great job building this program. Obviously, I've been real fortunate to be a part of that. And I think, there's a couple things there. For sure, the culture, how we structure our, I don't know, culture is kind of a hot topic or buzzword. What that meant for us is kind of how we structured the relationships between the athletes themselves as well as the coaching staff and how we function day to day. I think we just had a really good environment of, communication, being open and honest, trying to give as much clarity as we could to our student athletes. And then also making sure that they were able to communicate what their needs were and making sure that we were meeting those needs. I think a lot of time in sports, it's the coach and they sit way up here and the athletes are way down below and, you'll do as I say. And I don't feel like the program here at Texas was structured that way. And I think I want to carry that forward going into the national team. I want a lot of athlete feedback. I want to know what they need to go and perform at their highest level. It's not about, obviously I know what we need to do as far as training and how we need to structure some systems, I think, to be successful. But I think that comes with a lot of feedback from the athletes and making sure they're involved in the process. I think when you do that too, you obviously get a lot of buyback from the athletes. They feel like that they have some ownership there, that they're just not a part of it. So I want to make sure that's part of our culture going forward with the U.S. team.
Well, it seems like you might have a head start because you've coached several athletes who are currently on the team, on the women's national team, and obviously some previous years with the team as well. And Stephen talked about, and you talked about as well, that great culture and that leadership qualities that you've helped to set really at Texas. And what kind of advantage, if any, does that kind of legacy carrying on with the national team, do you think that gives you an advantage at all with having some of that history with some of those athletes and that culture in the national team program?
I think the relationships are really important. Obviously, having the relationships with some of the players that I've coached will be beneficial, but I want to create those relationships with everyone. Obviously, not going to be biased towards just the athletes that I've coached in college. And, being around the men's team and being at the last 3 Olympics and having interactions with the women's team, I think is going to prove to be really beneficial as well. I feel like I know a lot of the athletes, at least on some cursory level already. Obviously, I'm looking forward to establishing those relationships and building on them going forward here in the near future. But I think that's a big part of the culture as well of, to go and do extraordinary things on a big stage. You gotta have extraordinary conversations, and you gotta have extraordinary relationships, and you gotta have some comfort level there to know and have some trust level there, to go do great things. So that's also going to be a real important piece for me and my staff, is that, we culture or create and, culture those relationships over long periods of time so we can go be in high stressful situations and achieve great things.
Before we move on from your time at Texas, at the time of us talking, the announcement went out this morning, Monday morning, and we've had a great response from Texas fans, from USA fans of you, both as a player and a coach. A lot of great comments coming in on social media. But I guess for you, do you have any message or anything that you'd like to share with the athletes, the coaches, the fans of that Texas program?
Yeah, look, this is the ultimate representation, right? Like you're representing your country, and so you feel, or at least I feel, it's one of the biggest honors you can have. And I think I would say, and I would say that we're all hoping and striving for the same thing, right? Like we all want to go and represent ourselves in a way that we think is honorable on how we want to represent our country and ourselves and our families. And two, we want to go be successful at the highest stage. And so that doesn't only include the Olympics. We want to go compete at world championships and medal there. And obviously the ultimate goal of going and winning gold in Los Angeles in 2028. So I don't know. I hope I can be a stalwart of that, of kind of including everyone, and hopefully everyone gets on board and supports us. And we're going to go try to do maybe the hardest thing to do in sports. And it's going to be a great journey. And I don't know, I'd love to include everyone along the way as best as possible, because that's what it's about. The more, look, I've been around, I've won 5 national championships in my career. And with each progressive one, it's been more about watching the people around me celebrate more than, I mean, obviously I enjoy it. And, that's what we're trying to do every day. That feels good to me. But I've really taken pleasure of kind of being on the journey and watching the group celebrate, especially for the ones that had never done it before. So, I don't know. To me, I want to be that. I want to be, obviously I'm going to be the head and the face of the program, but it's more about like, hey, get on board with us and let's go have a killer 4-year journey in this, not just the Olympics, but the fact that we get to host and do it in LA. And
yeah,
I'm from Southern California. It's kind of coming full circle for me. So.
Erik, how would you describe your coaching philosophy and what you're bringing to the role of the women's national team head coach?
Yeah, look, there's a bunch of things that I think are, common knowledge. You got to get a good group together, and you got to work hard in the gym every day, and you got to strive to get better every time you step on the floor. But again, more for me, and you're probably going to hear this a lot, is just about the group and how we function together. I think that's what makes it special. When you can get a group of people all striving to do the same thing, and you have these common experiences that are unique and super interesting. And those are the bonds that kind of tie groups together like that. So, I want to create that culture where we're tight knit, that everybody's on board and we're all trying to do the same thing. It's not about me telling them what to do. I'm a part of that group. I understand that I've got a title now that maybe puts me at the front of it, but I really feel like I'm a part of that group, and I'm going to help push and mold our journey as we go. And then the volleyball piece, we can get into some nuts and bolts, but I want to be creative. I want to give our players the opportunity to be creative, and we're going to obviously have some rigid systems in place on how we want to play the game and how we're going to function. But, how do you solve problems out there? How do you see things and think your way through them and then execute those things? I think that's becoming a more and more important part of the game. And I hope I'm going to bring some of that to the quad here going forward.
Curious, just, for yourself observing from afar, is there anyone that you're like really excited to work with in that program?
All of them, to be honest with you. I've been around the guys team internationally, at least hands-on, a lot more than the women's program.
Right.
Definitely being a women's volleyball coach. And, I think I'd have to go through and go player by player, but I think I've coached against probably 90% of them at some point, whether they were knocking us out of the tournament or we're playing preseason somewhere. So to be honest with you, I don't know that I would single anybody out. I'm just excited to, kind of get to know them all a little bit better. The ones that I don't know already, just because you know them a little bit and you see them from afar and you watch their careers. So I don't know. I'm just excited for the new opportunity to get to be a part of another group and to get to know all those players and create hopefully great relationships with them.
I was expecting you to say, one of the liberos or something, getting back there, having some libero.
I started at the middle. I played outside or finished at the pro. I'm tight with all.
You're right. Yeah. Well, speaking of continuing our talk with the U.S. Women's National Team, Karch Kiraly had an incredible tenure with that program. How do you feel about succeeding Karch, and have you talked to him at all through this process, or is that part of the plan in the early days into this role?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, Karch. I grew up. I mean, Karch inspired me to play volleyball. I mean, I was sorry for him, but just to age him a little bit here. But when I was growing up and picked up the sport, he was volleyball. He was indoor volleyball. At that point, I think the team was still training down in San Diego, so you were around it a little bit. I don't really remember watching them practice or play too much, but for sure in the media, and then watching him go through the beach career, all those things. So to follow in his footsteps, obviously, is truly an honor. Obviously, big shoes to fill. We have chatted a little bit. In fact, I'm coming out to Anaheim tomorrow, specifically to sit down with him and Spadaro as well, but mostly with him just to kind of get a feel of where they're at, how he did things, what just to get his thoughts and mindset on things, because I think it'll be super helpful. I mean, one of the other real exciting things about this job is knowing that he's going to be in the office next door. There's great people around that I think I can lean on and take advice from and get information from. Obviously, him being at the top of that list. So I haven't been as in depth as I would like to be, but it's going to happen pretty quick here. So I expect it'll be very helpful.
You mentioned John Spadaro there, and obviously you've gotten to know him very well, being part of his staff at certain points. And what have you learned from him as a national team head coach?
Yeah, again, part of the culture thing. I'll say this. I think being a women's coach, we've been very influenced, at least in my experience, by the men's game. Every time I would go with them somewhere in the summer, I was typically bringing something back into our gym, some systematic thing of just how the guys play that the women really hadn't adopted yet. So I feel like the women's game tends to lag behind the men's game, just more systematically about how they play and what they're doing. If you look at the history of it. So, for me, learning a lot from how Spadaro thought about the game, systematically, was hugely important, I think, to my success and, to being a coach in the women's collegiate game. I think it helped us tremendously, but more importantly than that, the way that he structured the culture around the team, how he thought about competing, about focusing on every contact and every play, trying to get rid of the big picture stuff and just being in the moment and competing and embracing that, was really important. So I don't know, all aspects that's why I enjoyed being around it so much. It wasn't so much of like, hey, I get to go and, just have this experience. The learning part of it was hugely important for me.
We talked a lot about, what you hope to bring to the table and your own coaching philosophy, but what do you see as some of the biggest challenges that you think you'll face, heading into this role?
Yeah, that's a tough question. Obviously it's a lot of what I think. I'm sure I don't even know what I don't know yet. probably the biggest thing is personnel, putting a good staff together. I've got some ideas and some great leads on some people that I would like to be involved with, that I would like to bring on board with the program. Getting to know the girls and personalities and whatever stuff might be intertied in that, and putting groups together. And anytime you have a large group, doing tough things that in stressful environments, obviously there's issues there with the group. To see how the core of that group functions and what they want and how they function in going about that. And then identifying good young talent that's maybe ready to take the next step. I think one of the unique things with the quad, obviously, is that we're hosting, so we're not worried about the qualification process. We know we're going to be the number 1 seed. You can take those things off the table, which, most casual volleyball fans don't understand the stress part of that. The qualification part is extremely stressful. Both Olympics I played in, I think the qualification part of it was probably more stressful than the Olympics itself. So to not have that to worry about, I think it gives you some opportunity to maybe invest in some younger players early on in the quad and identify some younger talent, and then give you maybe a little broader feel for the group leading into the Olympics. So again, all these things, just a bunch of unknowns for me, and hopefully start getting into it here in the coming weeks. But I also think that's a great challenge and the fun of being a coach, is kind of putting that puzzle together. So, I think those are going to be the challenges.
Can already tell you're ready, because you picked right up on what my next question was going to be, because you touched on it just a little bit, but you don't have to tell us if you have who the names are, but just when you're looking for candidates to fill out your staff, as you touched on briefly, what can you just expand on what some of the qualities or what you're going to be focusing on when you're trying to fill out your staff here?
Yeah, obviously the volleyball piece is hugely important, right? How they think about the game, how they think about systems, how they, how they view the game, where it's going, what innovative things can we be doing on the front end. But again, I'm going to kind of go back to the culture piece. More importantly than that, to me, is not only how we relate as a staff. I think we have to be, we have to have some continuity amongst each other. It doesn't mean we have to be best friends, but being tight, I think, would be helpful. Are they people that I want to go on this journey with, and am going to enjoy being in the next 4 years, as tightly knit as we're going to be as we're traveling around the world and doing this. And then how do they relate to the girls? I think that's just as important as anything else. I think they've got to have the right mindset, and I think we've got to see eye to eye on how we relate to the players and the concepts of like, hey, they've got, they're more of a piece of this than we are. It's not about us, it's about them. How do we get them involved in the process so that they're giving us input and we're putting a great group together?
Touched on this at the top of our conversation here, but the U.S. national team program and USA Volleyball has been a huge part of your life. I believe you said going back to when you were 17 years old with formerly a high performance program, now NTDP, but that led into your time as a libero with the men's national team, competing at 2 Olympic Games. Now you're head coach of the U.S. women's national team program. What is the U.S. national team program as a whole, men's and women's side? What does that mean to you? And what is, that and USA Volleyball, what does that mean to you personally?
Yeah, it's really interesting. To be honest with you, I never, speaking to 17-year-old me, I don't know that I would throw any of those things out that you just said to me. I've always felt like I kind of moved on to the next challenge and just embraced what I was doing, whether that was moving from high school and club to college, moving from college into national team programming, getting to compete in Olympics and multiple Olympics, going into Sydney. I didn't really think about the next quad until afterwards. When I retired after playing in Athens, after we lost the bronze medal match, I knew I was moving into the coaching role in the collegiate world. To be honest with you, I thought I was just kind of done with USA Volleyball at that point. So one, just to have the opportunity to remain associated with USA Volleyball, the national teams, all of the programming has been such an honor and such a unique and great experience for me. I don't know. I think about this all the time. Like I hope I can give as much as I feel like I've taken. And in some sense, I don't think I've taken, but at least what volleyball has given me, I hope I can give back. And so, this is the ultimate way to do that. I think in that, to be the head coach of the senior national team for a quad going into the Olympics, I'd feel like is the ultimate way to try to give back to this. So I don't know. To be honest with you, Steven, I don't know that it's completely sunk in. I think I got to tell myself that that's my title and this is what I get to do. But again, I don't think I'm going to look at a big picture like that. And I'm going to look at it as like, hey, I get to be a part of this great challenge. And how do I wake up every day and pick the lock a little bit? How do I figure out, the challenges that are going on day to day? And then, the long-term goal for trying to win the gold medal. It's such a great, unique challenge. And to me, like I said before, that's the fun of coaching is how do you put all those pieces together so that you can achieve something magical.
That's such a profound answer. And I even love the pick the lock analogy too. I hate to even switch the topic, but I'm going to do it. Erik, just this week, we've got the beginning of the two pro leagues. We've got League One in its inaugural season and Pro Volleyball Federation in its second, I believe. Just if we can get your overall thoughts on that and your excitement level for pro volleyball in the U.S. with those domestic leagues, and if you're planning on attending any matches or, just your overall thoughts with those.
Yeah, what a great time to be involved in women's volleyball. Over my career, my lifetime in volleyball, we've seen some pro leagues come and go, structured different ways. I played in some domestic. I played on the Bud Light 4-man tour for a couple of years. So to have that opportunity to compete professionally in your own country is phenomenal. The fact that we have multiple pro leagues, I'm going to throw Athletes Unlimited in there as well, even though they've got a different little setup. It's just such a cool thing. And when I first got into college coaching, you'd talk to young athletes and you'd ask them about, hey, do you have goals of playing professionally? And they would kind of look at you and kind of mean like, what are you talking about? Right. Like you couldn't really see it because the streaming stuff wasn't really occurring at the highest level back then. And you'd have to explain it to them of like, hey, you could go overseas and play on these professional teams and have this wonderful experience and make some money. So to have this in the forefront of what we're doing, I think is phenomenal. Again, what I want to do and what I would imagine USA Volleyball wants to do is we want to support everybody. And, the more professional women's volleyball, and I'll throw the men's in there too, if we could ever get a men's league going, the more professional volleyball we can have in the U.S., like what a great thing for the sport and for the sport for the U.S. It's interesting when you talk to other coaches from other countries, they're just shocked that doesn't exist already with the level of success that we've had internationally. But yeah, so I will be trying to attend as much as I can because I think that probably comes along with the job title a little bit of trying to get out there and promote it as much as possible. And I hope all three of them the most success that they could possibly have because I think it's a wave that lifts all ships.
Assuming you'll be keeping tabs on our national team athletes that are competing on those teams as well, correct?
Yeah, very much so. And one of the parts of this job is when those athletes go overseas and play professionally, or they go play professionally now, obviously domestically, is trying to stay in touch and keep tabs on them a little bit and make sure that you're helping them out as much as possible. It's going to make that significantly easier. And not having to travel overseas and bounce around from country to country to try to check in with everyone. I don't know what the next few months are going to look like for me yet, but I'm hoping that, there's going to be 3 to 6 matches a month and trying to check in and hopefully, be able to connect with those players and possibly future players, with the team going forward. So I'm looking forward to that part of it.
I didn't even think about it from the collegiate coach or recruiting side of it. You mentioned, talking to athletes, sitting down with athletes and talking about what's next after college volleyball. And it's kind of exciting to think now they'll know, because they'll be seeing these domestic leagues. They'll know that they can play pro in the US, and then, learn about playing pro overseas too. And then, aspirations for the Olympic team as well. That's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. It's really cool.
This might be kind of a fun question. You probably don't even know yet, but what do you imagine that first time meeting the whole team as a group, the U.S. women's national team as a group? What do you imagine that being like? You're going to do something fun, like a team outing, open mic karaoke or something. What do you got planned?
Definitely not karaoke for me. It's a great question. From what I understand and how things work and just being around it, I would imagine there's not going to be just one moment where everybody walks in the gym.
True. Yeah.
Players will trickle back as their seasons kind of wind down. And I would imagine we'll have a group, and then that group will grow as we get into VNL in May. But yeah, I've obviously I've been, I don't know, this whole process has kind of been, I've known for about a week now, and it's been under wraps just to kind of make everything work. But just to be able to reach out and connect with a few of them today has been phenomenal. Again, that's, I don't know, that's just been one of the more enjoyable things for me, being in coaching is creating and having those relationships. So I'm super excited about it. Again, the way that I see and envision our culture, I think it'll be a great experience. I want it to be a great experience for them. What we're doing is really hard. You have to work at it really hard. It takes a lot of time. It's very stressful. I want them to enjoy it as much as possible. I think that part is really important. And, this is the game that they grew up loving. The game that I figured out when I was 14, and within a year dropped everything else I was doing, and I just could not play enough. I want them to have that feeling. And I know it's probably not possible, but they're a reason they're where they're at right now. And that reason is because, as a young girl picking it up, they probably felt the same thing that I felt. I know it's easy for you as your career progresses to start feeling like a job, and this is kind of what I have to do, not what I get to do. And I want them to appreciate that piece and, show up every day in the gym with the mindset of like, I get to do this, and it's really cool, even though it's really hard. That I get to do this, and hopefully we can all appreciate that along the journey.
Well, if it's not karaoke, I can give you some recs around the Anaheim area for maybe bowling, top golf. Look, I know there's line dancing even a couple blocks away, but I've never been there. Oh, there are options.
That might be above karaoke on things you don't want to see me be doing.
You spent so much time in Austin, though.
Yeah.
No. But there must be some cowboy boots you're bringing. Imagine it.
I still do not have a pair of cowboy boots.
Wow.
Impressive.
Yeah, that is impressive.
Well, you teased it a little bit there, but you picked up the game when you were 14. Correct me if I'm wrong there, but one last question. Normally we open with this, but we had a big topic to get right into. We love asking our guests, how they were introduced to the game. What was your introduction to volleyball?
Yeah, interestingly enough, I had no idea what a volleyball was until my freshman year in high school. And I grew up in San Diego, North County, San Diego, and our high school had a volleyball team. I was a soccer goalie, and I think I was okay. I was playing on a travel team and playing at a pretty high level. And I was tall. I was 13 or 14. I was kind of built how I'm built now. I was 6'3" or 6'4". And the guys that had started the program, that had been around for 4 or 5 years, found me one day on campus and kind of gave me the spiel of like, hey, you should come do this. It's out of season for soccer, and, we need tall, athletic people. And, in my mind, I remember kind of having this conversation with myself of like, oh, that's got to translate into being a goalie. You're doing the same thing. You're kind of, hand the ball and all those things. And so it's kind of just like, sure, why not? I don't. Interestingly enough, like I talked about the fact that I was just encapsulated with trying to play volleyball as much as I possibly could. I was really bad for like 2 years, like really bad. Couldn't jump very well, couldn't figure out my footwork, could barely hit the ball over the net. Everyone was kind of giving me grief for being so tall and kind of not being athletic enough to to hit balls. And I don't know why, but I was so determined. I think it was, watching some of the national team guys bounce balls in warm-ups. I was so determined to be able to do that. And it became my passion. I hesitate to say it, but almost addiction. Any free time I had, and I was fortunate enough to be near a beach, because that's the ultimate volleyball playground. I was down there all day. And so, like I said, I had dreams. I didn't really know you could go play in college. When I went to college, it was more about education for me than volleyball. I didn't really know you could play professionally afterwards. I obviously knew what the Olympics were, but didn't know what that path was. But I don't know. I just show up every day and try to be the best I could. And I loved it. I never felt like it was work. I did show up every day and was like, wow, I get to do this. And, what better way to spend your childhood, playing volleyball at the beach every day. So I don't know. That's kind of where I went, and one thing led to another, and one thing led to another. And, finally I got to the point where I was done playing, and coaching made the most sense. Just that I was 32 with not a ton of real work experience and a young family. And, that just was kind of the right thing for me to slide into at the time. So, I don't know. I feel like this sport has given me an awful lot. And like I said before, I hope I can return the favor.
I love that you thought of it as like volleyball could help your soccer game. And little did you know you'd have an awesome career in volleyball too after that. So that's awesome. Well, we're kind of coming up on our time here. Thank you so much for taking the time to have this conversation with us. Is there anything we left on the table that you'd like to talk about or share? Any final words here?
No, just like I said, I'm extremely honored and humbled by the opportunity, and really looking forward to it. And I'm just excited to get going.
And you're fairly active on social media, so where can people follow you on follow your journey with?
I don't even know. I'm on Twitter, and I'm on Instagram. I gotta step my game up a little bit. Maybe you can help me out.
There we go. Yeah, I'd be glad to help you out. Severin's out there in Anaheim too, so he can definitely help.
We'll work together. We got this.
I need younger minds around me to pick that lock for me.
Well, thank you so much, Erik. Congratulations again, and looking forward to more conversations down the road and working with you closely.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
Of course. Thank you. Such an awesome conversation with Erik. Such an easy guy to talk to as well. I just, on a personal note, really excited for him, just getting to work closely with him in Tokyo and Paris at the Olympic Games, and had a lot of fun doing that too. And he was very helpful, and just learned a lot being around him and seeing him kind of work with the team too was really cool. And even just like when we were in the weight room, he was interacting with the women's national team too. So saw like little glimpses there of just, how respected he is in the volleyball community, and how, how he's going to be able to work with those athletes, and already has great relationships with those athletes too. So excited to see, what he's going to bring to that program.
Yeah, I'm jealous that you have a little bit of a background with him, because he seems like such a cool, thoughtful, very meticulous guy, which I'm looking forward to meeting him this week when he comes into the gym. But I thought his answers were so great. I love his perspective on this being a great way to give back to the game. I think that's such a cool way to look at this position. And then his pick the lock analogy, I think that's such a cool one too. Reminds me of the locks we've got in all the storage rooms here, like that kind of thing. But I think he's got a really good sort of macro perspective on this position, and I'm really curious to see his micro perspective on it. I think that's something that obviously probably right now he's not ready to divulge, but I know that's something that we're going to be able to get to view firsthand. And with how he talks about things from sort of the 30,000 foot view, I'm really excited to see how he attacks it from the nitty gritty details.
Yeah, he mentioned, just with his time with John Spadaro with the women's national team, and how he was able to take some of those stuff that he observed, competing internationally on the men's side, and bring it over to his on the collegiate women's side with Texas. And he talked, about trying to be a little bit more creative in his approach to or not his approach to coaching, but like bringing some more creativity into the program. So excited to see what that is, and maybe how he's, plans to evolve the game from the women's side too. That's certainly exciting. And like you said, just growing the game as well. He's going to be around League One and Pro Volleyball Federation and those matches, and, following our athletes closely as well. But loved his take on just, from the collegiate coach side, recruiting and bringing in athletes and talking to them about like what's next after college volleyball, and just so exciting that now those athletes coming in will already know about pro volleyball, watching these leagues, League One, Pro Volleyball Federation, Athletes Unlimited, watching these leagues in the US, they already know about the opportunities after college. So that's just, just so excited to see where that growth goes.
Definitely. And you and I too have been able to talk a couple of times about how great that program is there at Texas, and just a cool atmosphere that he's coming and bring with him. And obviously that he's had a lot of involvement with after almost a decade or more than a decade actually with the program. So just echoing everything you said there. I think that he's a tremendous fit, and I can't wait to see how it all goes from here.
A little disappointed that he spent 14 years in Austin and doesn't own a pair of cowboy boots, though.
Hey, you can't be a poser, and I'm not saying that he would be, but one of the things I heard when I was living there is they could always pick out the people who weren't from around Texas with the way they walk in the cowboy boots, which is why mine are still sitting in my closet gathering dust, because you have to be a local to wear them, is what I heard. So, he's still got time. Like I said, there's that line dancing place, I think, around here. So, California is no stranger to cowboy boots, so he's more than welcome to break them out.
I expect you to have, no pun intended, boots on the ground when that happens.
Very good, Stephen.
I own a pair of cowboy boots, but I'm so far removed from Texas that I haven't dusted those off in a long time too. So they're in my closet, collecting dust. So I don't blame them. You're right. Don't be a poser. But excited to have more conversations with Erik down the road, and get to work with them a little bit more closely as well. Jealous that you're going to be in Anaheim with them a lot. So definitely, you're definitely going to have to help him with the social media game there.
I know that's a tall task if you're asking me to help, but I will do my very best.
There you go. Well, thank you again, Erik, for taking the time to sit down and talk with us. And excited to see what you bring to the program, and as you in the next quad here heading into LA, how you evolve that program. So congratulations again, and looking forward to seeing you down the road. Now on to upcoming events. Kick it off, Severin.
Yeah, for our upcoming events, it's qualifying season. It's fully underway. So we've got events basically happening almost every weekend. We just had the SCVA Boys National Qualifier this past weekend, and this weekend it's the Western No Dinks Boys National Qualifier. Also coming up in the next 2 weeks, we've got the Lone Star Classic Girls 18s National Qualifier. That's January 17th through 19th. We've got the Southwest Classic Boys National Qualifier, also January 17th through 19th. Then the KC MLK Girls 18s National Qualifier, January 18th through 20th. And then the Windy City Girls 18s National Qualifier, also January 18th through 20th. And one more for you. It looks like the Winter Volleyball Championship Boys National Qualifiers, also January 18th through 20th.
Registration is now open for a few USA Volleyball events, including the Junior Pan American Games Beach Volleyball Trials. This is a very recent addition to the calendar. And the trials are on January 24th through the 26th. So be sure to register as soon as possible. Registration is open for the Women's National Team Open program in Colorado Springs, February 20th through the 23rd. Registration is also open for both weekends of the Sunshine Classic Girls National Qualifier and the Salt Lake City Showdown Girls National Qualifier. Be sure to check out our calendar on our website for more details, usavolleyball.org. If you've made it this far into the episode, slipping in one last reminder here, please go vote for us. The USA Volleyball Show is a finalist for the Sports Podcast Awards Best Olympic and Paralympic Podcast. Thank you to all our listeners and viewers for all your support the last 3+ years. We're asking for just a little extra support here. Go vote for us. Vote at gousab.org/vote. That's go.usab.org/vote. Voting closes Monday, January 13th. As always, if there is a guest you think we should have on, a guest we should have on, or a topic that you want to hear about, or maybe, a club that should be featured, you can email us at the USAV show at usab.org. Let us know how much you're loving the show as well. And reminder, new episodes drop every other week. And until next time, thank you so much for listening to the USA Volleyball Show, the official podcast of USA Volleyball.
This has been the USA Volleyball Show with Clarence Hughes and Stephen Munson, produced by Curtis Ward. Our content producer is Laura Fawcett. Our marketing lead is Bree Jaycox. If you enjoyed this podcast, be sure to rate and review. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to the USA Volleyball Show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your podcasts.